This is a wonderful opportunity. Paulie, why don't you introduce yourself? Who you are, what you're doing?
What's happening? It's a pleasure to be here today. Um, Paulie Litt. I am actor, producer. I started a long time ago, but today I think we're going to be talking about Speed Racer, which was a phenomenal time in my childhood and such a just awesome production to be a part of. And it's been interesting. I looked at some of the questions you sent earlier, and it's funny how the perception of the film has changed so much over the last almost almost 20 years, I
I
guess.
know, man.
It's
We're getting
gearing
old.
up. Yeah, we're getting up. I'm 30 2 days 3 days ago. I just turned 30, so Spritel is getting over the hill for sure.
Oh man. Yeah, and I know we were talking a little bit before this, but seriously, you have no idea what this means to me. This quite literally was the movie that got me into filmmaking, that got me into everything that has to do with the production level of a movie, like talking about movies, the getting excited for a movie. I remember practically everything about this movie, but this is more so about you. So,
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, how did you even get into filmmaking? How did you get into this position?
Yeah, so you know, I I I grew up just infatuated with Ace Ventura, and I loved it, and I thought it was Jim Carrey was the most amazing character ever in that. And as a kid, I just rewatched and watched it over and over again. I think I broke two or three VHS tapes. I'd have to ask my mom um, until I knew every line and could mimic every facial expression. And from that point, it was safe to say my mom kind of understood that maybe there was something different, or maybe I enjoyed it, on a different level. So she spoke to my grandmother and set up a meeting with an agency in New Jersey. I went, and I was very fortunate and blessed. The first the agency wanted to sign me immediately, and then the first audition I ever went on, I got, which was an Oreos commercial. Uh, and that when I was on that commercial, I found out I got another commercial, and the dominoes started to fall, and then I got another one, and then I did Jersey Girl, and then I got Hope and Faith, and then you know, uh, then years later I did Speed Racer.
So, do you remember anything specifically about getting the job for Speed Racer? Like just
Oh,
anything with the audition process or
one
anything
one
like
hundred percent. I'll never forget it. It was at Warner Brothers. Laura Kennedy was casting, and I went in, met with her one time, and we had a great reading. I remember it, and pretty immediately my agent called me and was like, they want you back, and they want you to meet with the directors." And so I don't know, maybe a couple of days, a week, whatever it wound up being. I went in and I met with the Wachowskis, and we had this fantastic session. Um, I think we auditioned, if I remember correctly, it was the scene where I'm on the couch with Chim Chim and we're doing karate, the anime.
that?
And I remember I was on a chair in the casting office. Like we really got into it, and they're both so different in their directing style and their note style. Um, and it's right and left brain for sure. They're just really dialed in, and they knew what they wanted. Um, so it was really a pleasure as an actor getting to work with uh, directors who had this clear vision. You could almost look into their eyes and see everything that they saw. Um, and directing is such a hard thing to do. People go, "Oh, I want to be a film director and I want to do this." And I always say, well, can you imagine having all these wonderful ideas and um, all these acting tips and lighting tips and things in your brain, but now you have to verbalize them, so much so that the other individual can absorb those words and recreate it for you just the way you want. And they are magnificent at it. And that's what we did. So we just played around in the audition room and walked out. Again, it wasn't too much longer. They said, "Okay, we're ready to go." Um, but the cool part, obviously, and anybody who's watching, they've probably seen the film. But I got to work with the chimpanzee too, Willie and Kenzie. So I went to chimpanzee training for 2.5 weeks in California before we flew over to Germany. So before we left, I got to meet Willie and Kenzie both, and just Sled was the animal trainer. So we went up to Northern California, and he has, I mean, it's like Wizard of Oz: lions, tigers, bears. Oh my! It's just it's everywhere, and how come Willie and Kenzie, and I got to meet them, and they shook my hand. It's just amazing how intelligent they are. And by the end of the shoot, we had our own handshake, and we bonded for 2 weeks, and then we went off to shoot.
Man, that's awesome. I appreciate this. I'm just going to let you talk and just tell your stories because you got so many of them. It seems like when it comes to the monkeys or the chimpanzees, I apologize.
I'm going to set the record straight for everybody. Willie and Kenzie do not like to be called monkeys. They like to be called chimpanzees.
Was there any funny stories that you remember specifically with working with them? Because, you think about movies nowadays, if Speed Racer was made now, most likely it probably would have been like a CGI creation, not a real chimpanzee.
Yeah, they're funny to begin with. They each have their own individual. So Willie and Kenzie both had their own individual personalities, and they brought it to set. And I could actually watch, and I'm pretty good with telling which one's which when we cut to it. So you can tell which one's Willie, which one's Kenzie, and we just had I mean, I remember we prepared for the golf cart scene riding on a four-wheeler up in up in Northern California. And that scene was, I'll tell you, that was a tough scene to do.
Really?
Well, all of it. For anyone who doesn't understand, 90%, maybe 95% of the entire movie is shot on a green screen.
Mm-hmm.
The house, the racer house, the hotel that we were staying in, those are the only actual sets that I can remember. Maybe the garage where we're building the Mach 6 at the end, but that was an attachment to the house. Everything else was just green. So that golf cart scene, we're in this golf cart on this huge platform, cameras going 360, all crazy stuff, and we're driving the golf cart nuts, and there's just absolutely nothing. There's just absolutely nothing around us. So it's all cues from the AD or from the directors of just, oh, you're hitting somebody. Oh, this song's playing. Oh, that song's playing. Oh, beep the horn. And I'll tell you, it's a real test. Some people have a tendency to make fun a little bit of these big budget CGI films for maybe the acting, but I will tell you, it's tough. It's tough when it's stripped down and there's absolutely nothing there but a different shade of green type of tape that's written, pool, or that scene where I'm running through the house that Royalton took us to, and there's nothing there. It's just a green screen. And I'm like, wow. But if I step too much to the right, I look like I'm on the table. If I step too much to the left, it looks like I'm walking on water in the pool. It's incredible. And what they would do is there was a little tiny TV screen monitor, and that's what we would look at before we went on to the scene. And that would be the end creation, a drawing of what it was going to look like.
Okay.
That's all we had to go on.
Wow, that really puts into perspective, because I know for myself, there's not really a whole lot of behind the scenes of this movie. It seems like the only thing I can really point to is there's like one bonus feature, and then there's you
Yeah,
doing
going
Spital
around.
in the big leagues. But there wasn't, you kind of focused on more of the
Yeah,
physicalness of the movie. So yeah, that kind of puts it into
yeah. Even the
perspective.
gimbal. I think there's a bit in there where we go over. And I thought it was the coolest job in the whole world. The gimbal operator was just playing a video game, you know. He was just playing the track. And the technology was so advanced that he was actually playing the track that Speed was on, so
Hmm.
that the turns were actual turns for that track. So just so groundbreaking, so ahead of its time. It was a privilege to watch it unfold and work with some of the most amazing. I mean, John Gata, special effects, and uh, you're sitting with lunch with him talking about bullet time that he created for The Matrix. You know, just chopping it up nonchalantly. So yeah, it was a privilege for sure.
Man, that does sound amazing, because you got to witness history there. But when it comes to, I guess you were kind of going into it, but when it comes to working on the production, was there anyone specific that you really got along with, or that you have any funny stories with
Oh,
specifically?
I'll tell you, we had a really great cast. We spoke about it before we started recording, but the Wachowskis did such a great job of truly bringing the anime to life. You think of Pops Racer, you can't help but think of John Goodman. He just is Pops, and so is Susan, and as mom, and Christina Ricci is fantastic as Trixie. So everyone truly embodied it. But my trailer happened to be across from John's trailer, and John likes to play the harmonica. So he would play the harmonica at lunch break, and I would sing, and we'd keep our trailer doors open, and that's how we would that's how we would talk and communicate. I always used to joke he's a man of few but funny words. He doesn't speak often, but when he does, your belly is rolling.
Oh man, that's great,
Yeah.
man.
And then Rain was so much fun, and even he had an interpreter at the time. He was learning English more and more, especially because they were getting ready to do Ninja Assassin,
Mm.
and I'm pretty sure they knew at the time that's who they wanted, and they were kind of grooming him for that position. Um, but he was just fantastic. He had so much fun, so much energy. Um, and then Phil Tan, I love Phil. He plays the ninja, or more like the nanja, as
Oh no.
John would say. But he was so much fun, and of course Christian Oliver. Rest in peace. I was. It was a tough day. I really felt for him, and the kids, and he was just so nice. It's tough to explain, but when you're the only kid on set, and for the majority of the shoot, I was the only child on set. Um, for the adults to take their time and be considerate and be nice, I'll never forget Scott Porter. Took myself and my mother out to dinner one night, and just we talked for hours, and he was just so lovely, and we still talk. So those moments I'll never forget. We really had a great time. on set.
Man, that does sound like it was a lot of fun, especially some really great memories. You know, we have lost a lot of the cast members over time, but it's great that we still
Oh,
have those
and Richard,
memories.
I gotta mention Richard Roundtree. Roundtree was the man, you know. I mean, he is Shaft, so I gotta give it up to Shaft. And just so nice, and his daughter was lovely. Also, came to set, so we had a really and we were there for quite an extended period of time. I forget if it was like 3 months, we were there for quite a long time in Germany, and Berlin was so lovely, and the studio Babelsberg was great. So I had a fantastic time. I had my own golf cart as well, so I was whipping it. And yeah, what more could you want at 12 or 13?
When it comes to working on the set, was there anything that you took possibly, like any props or just little like trinkets or memorabilia?
Yeah. So actually, you know the bag that Speed is packing
Yeah.
in that scene where I'm like, "Don't leave." I took that. I have that bag. 100%. That is my bag. And it's one thing I will tell you. Everything the Wachowskis do, and Joel Silver as a producer, and Grant Hill, is absolutely 100% top shelf. They do not chimp or try to cheat the process or make things look different than they are. They are. I mean, that bag was handmade. That is a beautiful Italian leather handbag, and they just had it made just for the film. You know, when that Maybach is there, you know, Cruncher. That's, I forget if it's like a one of one. You can look it up after and see that it has a private security team that just watches that particular Maybach because they've never made it. It doesn't even run. Nobody even drives it, but Joel just had to have it.
Mm.
They had to have it in the film. So everything they did, from the sets to the props to there were no cars, obviously. You know, the Maybach, I think, is probably the only real car in the entire thing. Everything else is fake, or CGI'd. So from that standpoint, everything was great. So it definitely took that. Um, Over the years, I've gotten some cool stuff. People have sent me a really great 1993 deck of cards, Speed Racer, when there was a reboot. Then obviously we had Legos when it came out, so I have a set of
Mm.
the Legos. I have my action Hot Wheels. I had a action figure, which hands down the coolest thing ever, to have your own action figure. It is just another level to see someone playing with it, or the Mach 5, or anything in regards to the film. I cannot express the feeling of gratitude, and the feeling of just pure happiness that I receive from seeing people enjoy the movie so much.
Well, let me grab something real quick for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me grab I wasn't prepared for this, but I got something for you. I've moved a couple dozen times, so I've sadly lost a lot of my memorabilia that I've collected, but I bought practically everything for the movie, but I still have a handful of my Hot Wheels
Look at that.
cars.
I
So
love it.
I have some of the more rare ones, like with the Ghost of Rex
Yeah.
Racer. Some of the more like the Gray Ghost, uh, Royalton's car, Flying Foxes. These meant so much to me, and I just you lose stuff as you move accidentally,
Yeah.
and
It
but
happened.
I had the Spritel figures. I had all the figures. I even had there was a couple Mach 5 models, and I think even Racer X's car. You would like rev the car, and then it would do a jump jack or something like that. I
Yeah.
remember. I had a big giant Mach 5 and Mach 6 model, and then when you'd press a button, it would
Yeah.
do. I had everything.
We had some cool ones. I remember I did VO. Remember the helmet that we had? There was a helmet with and that was my real voice, you know. the one thing I really wanted to do throughout the whole process was I wanted to be as much as possible my voice and the real thing as possible. So when it came to the Wii game or Spritle in the Big Leagues or any of the toys, I was all for, hands down, doing it.
Man, that's great. And I mean, I remember that. I mean, you know, I still have probably I'd have to fish it out, but I still have my Wii game and the PlayStation 2 game on my shelf. I religiously played those video games. Trust me, like when Speed Racer came out, it was basically like a religious experience going to the theater because you know, I had the McDonald's toys. I collected
Yep.
all the cars before the movie's release. And then, you know, the Cataclysm was going to the theater. Like for me, I have an experience that's different from a lot of other people going to the theater because uh, my theater experience was packed full. There was a big theater packed full of kids and adults, and every single person loved the movie in the theater. You heard the oohs and the ahs of, you know, whenever there was when you and Chim Chim popped up on screen, people were laughing and rolling in the theater aisles, and it was just an experience. Like I know it might be weird to some people, but I consider this the greatest movie ever made, and I'm always going to be grateful to people that worked on it because it's meant so much to me over time. You know, this is the movie that I always compare to other movies. I'll watch something and it's like, it's not as good as Speed Racer, you know, Lord of the Rings, it's pretty good, not as good as Speed Racer in my opinion. You know, that's just it
Well,
is for me.
well, listen, we had so much fun making it, and I'm so glad that you enjoy it so much, and I'm glad that people now have come around to it, because a
Mhm.
lot of people have come around to it as of late and understood, similar to maybe pieces of artwork. You know, it takes a long time for them to fully be absorbed and appreciated, because some of the things that they did on that set were just so truly revolutionary in movie making, in this CGI world that we are now fully immersed in. Kind of was not unheard. It was very unique in
Mhm.
2007, 2008 when we made it and then came out. So um, I'm just grateful for it.
So I guess that asks another question. What was your favorite part of the production? Like, what was your favorite thing that you shot?
Ooh, that's tough. That's tough. There's a lot of good stuff.
Tell them all. Tell them all. I don't care. It doesn't
Um,
have to be one.
so I'll start with this story. This is a funny story. So the scene where Racer X and come to the front door, and Inspector and I'm like, oh my god, yeah, the harbinger of boom, and I close the door. Uh, Side note: there's a great YouTube clip of it in Spanish.
¡El corredor X! ¡El heraldo de la perdición! ¡Corran por sus vidas!
And it is hilarious. It's dubbed in Spanish, and I'm like, and I just close the door. It's very funny. I like that. But on the day of shooting, uh, I will say I was a little chunky, back in the day. And yeah, the pants, particular jeans that they had me wearing, were were a little tight. So I have to jump over the couch, man. But they were so specific, and chat over with stunts. Like, everybody was very specific. You cannot hit the pillows. They just didn't want it to hit the pillows on the couch. If you look, it's a clear jump.
Okay.
So the first time I hit the pillow and it falls over, they're like, no, 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 do it again. Second time I hit, I can't get my legs up because their pants are so tight on me. And then before the third take, stunts come out and they're like, do you want a springboard underneath the one cushion to give you a little boost up. And I was like, no, I don't need that. And so on the third one, I'm like, oh, come on, feet don't fail me now. And I just went for it. And I got the take. They're like, great, finally, bingo, let's, move on. And I'm sitting there and I realized I ripped my pants. So that's my secret with wardrobe, and they stitched it up real quick to finish the film. And then oh man, we had a ball doing that fight scene where Chim Chim throws his Chim Chim cookies, and then we had a rubber wrench, and that's what Chim Chim was hitting everybody with. There's so many, but the one that I'll tell you, it has nothing to do with the movie, just has to do with the camaraderie during filmmaking.
Hmm.
So the Wachowskis are from Chicago. Obviously, they're very big sports fans. Full blown Chicago. Blackhawks, Cubs, Bulls, Bears, everything Chicago. Now, even though I'm from New Jersey, I fell in love at a very early age with Fran Tarkenton, the Purple People Eaters, Dante Culpepper, Randy Moss, Minnesota Vikings. I'm a huge Minnesota Vikings fan. I don't know how familiar you are with football, but that is a severe rivalry, big time.
Detroit for me. Detroit.
Oh no!
So yeah.
All right. Well, listen, I'm happy for Detroit. I love that they're doing well now. Just as long as it isn't Green Bay.
I'll take that.
Bingo. So, but anyway, well, now you'll really appreciate it because you get it. So they have Jersey Fridays on set. Any jersey you want, soccer jersey, basketball jersey, baseball jersey, what have you. So a couple weeks into it, I get tired of seeing this Bears gear everywhere. So my manager at the time, because I'm in Germany, contacted the Vikings, and they were very lovely. They sent over some signed stuff, football, and we had just about 150 to 200 Viking shirts. So I go around the set and I tell everybody, including Willie and Kenzie, that tomorrow, when it's Jersey Friday, everyone's going to show up in purple and gold. And it's just going to be a sea of purple and gold on set. So that's what we did. Now I show up to set, I get ready, and it just so happened that was a day where my scene is kind of later in the day. So I go through, and I'm sitting in my trailer, super anxious, because I want to know what's going on. Are nobody said anything. Nobody said they saw anything. I haven't seen the Wachowskis, like nothing. And I eat lunch. Okay, you're up after lunch. I said, okay, I'm ready. And there's the scene in the hotel where I get sick, and they're like, oh, we rewrote the scene and you get sick and you're throwing up. And I said, oh, all right, So I'm walking to set and I see there's a toilet in the middle of the room. And they go, yeah, that's a rework. We're gonna put it out there. Just go check in with your stand-in and see what's happening. And I check in, and they go, yeah, you run around, and then you get super sick, and you put your head in the toilet paper, the head in the toilet. And I thought, oh, okay. And we do the rehearsal, and we run through, and I put my head in the toilet, and just as I'm putting my head in the toilet, they come out and they go, that's where your Vikings belong, in the toilet. Never do that again. and we
Oh
just
no.
started laughing. So we had a fun time with that.
That does sound like fun. You basically were Sprite old man.
Yeah, just causing mayhem.
Yeah, little stinker.
Yeah.
Man, so you were talking about earlier about how the perception of the film has changed, but why don't we talk about when it first, like when you first saw it when you were a kid? What did you think about it? Like, did you think this was going to be this amazing hit, or did you think, oh man,
Uh, so funny. I haven't seen anything I've been in.
hmm,
So
okay,
I would go to the screenings and you politely sit down and then walk out. I've seen a majority of it, but usually I just don't like to watch myself.
hmm,
So I've seen quite a bit of it, and they were they would send clips and things like that to review of the races and things like that. I think when it first came out, I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Everybody was disappointed. We were all very disappointed because we had all signed on for multiple pictures. So I definitely think there was on the back end, on the business side of it, a thought that it would continue.
hmm,
I haven't laid my eyes on it, but from what I understand, there is a very solid second script already written, and it was written a long time ago. Um, so from that standpoint, we did definitely think we were going to continue. I do think timing is everything.
hmm.
It was very unfortunate. We fell on the second opening weekend of Iron Man.
Yep. And then you had Indiana Jones, and then like Prince Caspian as well, right behind it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it was a tough go. Um, and I don't know necessarily. I think we were kind of maybe caught between a rock and a hard place from a standpoint of, were we going after the people who enjoyed Speed Racer as a child, or we were going to their children? Because that's two different audiences, as you obviously well know, being that Speed Racer was so successful that many years ago.
hmm,
So it definitely was upsetting. I was more so upset just because we had worked so hard on it and done it, but I knew, we all knew deep down, I think, that it was just so different. It was such a different film that maybe it wasn't going to do do what Iron Man did.
hmm.
So, but no, definitely everybody was devastated and everybody was upset. But what are you gonna do? That's life. You got to keep moving on and um, keep pushing forward. And here we are, 16 years ago, 16 years later, something like that. 15
Yeah,
years later.
something like that. We're almost
Um,
at 20.
yeah. So it's a long time ago, but I'll tell you, when people talk to me about it, or I hear somebody talking about it or watching it, man, they love it. They really have this true connection to it, and they maybe they feel it on a different level. I don't know. You would tell me better, but they feel it on a different level, and I'm just so appreciative that we're there now. And looking back, people have studied definitely the film schools and things like that from a standpoint of the technology and the camera work um, of the film. So yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed as well because, I watched the movie when I was in the theater and stuff, and I was thinking this was a big hit and stuff, and then come to find out a few years later, it's like, oh, it wasn't. But, do you have any like memories of when you first started to hear rumblings of it being like a cult classic? Like, did one of your friends tell you or something like that, or castmates?
I don't know. I think it just started to Uh, I think it just in the last like couple, maybe on its 10th year anniversary,
Mm.
people really started to talk about it from online and the magazines, and I think the Alamo Draft House does a special edition screening of it, and then the Bev out in L.A., which
Mhm.
is Quentin's movie theater. He's shown it a couple times, and they're very appreciative of it from a filmmaking standpoint. And more so also just afterwards, a lot of the crew um from other films that I've worked on would understand it, because it's that's really what it is. It's just true understanding of what went into it and how we made it. That's what's so incredible about it. And also the overarching theme of what the Wachowskis wrote about. Um, it's a deep movie. It's
Mhm.
not as surface level as you know a kid's cartoon show maybe is sometimes.
No, I think that this is one of those movies that should be shown in film class to a lot of the newer students, because in the first 15 minutes, you're introduced to every single character, what their motivations are, what's the story going on. You have all the background information, and then you're jump started. Sorry.
Yeah, and
You're
then
jump
then it takes off.
Yeah, and I just think those opening 15 minutes need to be shown because, nowadays there's so many movies where it's like the first 15 minutes you're kind of wondering, it's like, I don't really know what's going on or this and that. And, this is
Yeah.
all done in such an adrenaline pumping way with the race and how it's going back and forth through time frames, and it's not headache inducing, it's not confusing.
Yeah, they did a wonderful job with the script and just introducing every character, really getting down to the nitty gritty, and then taking off. I, in regards to what's going on now, I don't know. It a lot of the projects I see nowadays, unfortunately, seem to almost take the audience for granted,
Mm,
because they feel like they have that audience already because it's a streaming service, so they don't need to um, tell the tale like they used to have to. The audience, they feel, is already there, so we can take 60 pages to tell the story, or we can take 4 episodes to tell the story, because what else are they going to do? And it's unfortunate, but that's where we are now. I feel.
mm, interesting. Yeah, I definitely agree. uh just a couple more things because I don't want to take up too
Yeah.
much of your time. But is there anything that you want to talk about that you're up to currently, or just kind of
Yeah.
throw out there?
Right now, I'm focused on. I took a time off, and I had a textile facility in Arkansas, and I did that for 5 years, and I took a step back from the business, and as of late, I'm working on a show, because I think the median, the it is TV now. It is the streaming platform, the 10 to 12 episodes. So that's just the way it is now. That's where everything's headed.
I wish we
So
could bring back the 28 episode season. I miss
yeah,
those
I
so
know, I
much.
know, I know. Trust me, I grew up on Hope and Faith, and I love doing 28 episodes and that was a sitcom, 3 camera, old school comedy. So, but I don't know if I hate to tell you, I don't know if they're gonna come back. But I've been writing. I have a wonderful writing partner. We created this show, and I went out to LA in October. We filmed a little bit of it, so I cut it together, and now I'm just at that point of shopping it. So we'll see how it goes. And but but it's safe to say Spritel is back in front of the camera now.
Awesome.
So look out, Chim Chim.
I know. I'll definitely have to be looking out for it. That's for sure. Man,
Definitely, for sure.
you'll have to let me know when it's all done.
Well, definitely 100% I will. And yeah, so that's been it. And now we're talking about Speed Racer.
Yeah, exactly. Man. But I mean, I don't really have any other questions, but I mean, is there anything else that you want to talk about or
Well, you tell me. But I'm just so appreciative that you reached out, and I'm glad I was able to get on with you and talk about a wonderful project in my career and a wonderful time in my life. And I will forever remember it. And I'm so glad that people enjoy it just as much or maybe more than we enjoyed making it. We had such a fun time, and I can't believe it's been 16 years or whatever.
we can't pinpoint it exactly. That's bad.
Yeah.
Man, but I just want to tell you that, don't listen to anyone if they say that it's not great or, those people they don't matter. But
Yeah.
yeah. But seriously, the film it's so influential. I made a video a while back and I'll release this probably with another video I have upcoming about the movie, but I got so many DMs about just how this influenced them as a child and just how it brought them into their love of filmmaking, how you and Chim Chim were like the best part of the movie and how they absolutely loved whenever you and John Goodman or like he would pick you up or
Yeah.
you and Speed whenever you were like, yeah, where are you going, Speed? And
Yeah.
there was so many of those. And so I just want to let you know that the film is loved just as much as you think.
Well, I'm glad, and I'm grateful that it is, and go Speed, go. What else what else is there to say?
Exactly.
Because we definitely don't want to hit them with the Chim Chim cookies, because then that's just a whole different problem.
Yeah, I don't think Cruncher Block would like that too much.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.